Have you guys ever wondered what would happen if Muzan had turned Tanjiro into a demon alongside Nezuko? Considering Tanjiro's potential, he would have become a massive threat to humanity under Muzan's control, or perhaps he can resist his control like Nezuko. I'm sure this question must have popped into your tiny brain at some point. Fortunately, I've formulated some theories that might pique your interest regarding this topic. Without any further ado, let's dive right into it. If Tanjiro and Nezuko were both demons, then the whole storyline would be completely different. Let's start with the first scenario. We all know that Tanjiro went to sell coal in the nearby village, and when he came back, he saw his family slaughtered except Nezuko, who turned into a demon. But what if Tanjiro had never gone to sell coal and Muzan had turned him into a demon as well? Shortly after, Giyu arrives at the scene and sees Nezuko and Tanjiro instantly attacking them. Tanjiro and Nezuko, both frightened by this, run for their life, but Giyu catches up to them and eventually kills them both. With Tanjiro and Nezuko gone, the Demon Slayer Corps suffers a huge loss as Demon Slayers like Zenitsu and Inosuke, who were saved by Tanjiro, would be dead. Besides them, Tanjiro also saved some Hashiras, and in his absence, they would perish as well. This results in Muzan defeating the Demon Slayer Corps and taking over the entire world. And the story would end with that, or we might have gotten some other MC. Now let's talk about scenario 2, which will be a bit longer than this one. In the previous scenario, we talked about how Tanjiro never wanted to sell coal and was turned into a demon and later killed by Giyu. But what if he did go to sell coal and was later turned into a demon? Alright, hear me out. If that's the case, then the story continues as normal. Tanjiro goes to sell coal in the village and comes back home to find his family slaughtered and Nezuko turned into a demon. Tanjiro then takes Nezuko and runs into the forest where he's attacked by Nezuko until Giyu arrives and tries to kill Nezuko, but Tanjiro stops him. Then Giyu sends both of them to Sakonji so they can train, and Tanjiro can potentially become a demon slayer. Soon, they arrive at Sakonji's house, where Sakonji starts to train Tanjiro so he can learn about waterbending. Soon, Tanjiro's able to learn water breathing and sets out to Asakusa with Nezuko. And now's the part when both Tanjiro and Nezuko turn into demons. Tanjiro and Nezuko are enjoying ramen until Tanjiro starts smelling something odd and starts to follow the smell. He rushes through the crowd and the smell starts to become stronger and stronger until he encounters Muzan. Tanjiro, filled with hatred and rage, tries to attack Muzan but is unable to, and Muzan vanishes into the crowd after turning a few people into bloodthirsty demons. But Tanjiro's mind is filled with revenge, and he knows that Muzan is still in Asakusa, so he draws a rough sketch of Muzan and starts asking the people around him, but has no luck until he goes to an old bearded guy who tells them that he might have seen him in the alley. Tanjiro heads to the alley and witnesses Muzan slaughtering two guys. Tanjiro, seeing them fight, decides to join in. He leaves Nezuko at the start of the alleyway and approaches Muzan to ambush him. Muzan, after seeing the earrings, becoming angrier as they remind him of Yoriichi. Muzan ignores the others and heads straight for Tanjiro. After seeing Tanjiro's earrings, Muzan's filled with anger but is able to control himself. Muzan then decides to turn Tanjiro into a demon. Tanjiro has no other choice but to follow Muzan's orders. Muzan orders Tanjiro to kill all the humans in the vicinity. Tanjiro hesitantly slaughters all the humans in the market. Seeing his potential, Muzan gives Tanjiro some of his blood, and with this, Tanjiro becomes one of the lower moons. Time passes, and Demon Tanjiro and Nezuko are feared among the Demon Slayer Corps as a deadly duo. With no other option left, Hashiras decide to confront them. In that battle, the Hashira manages to kill Nezuko, and seeing his sister die, Tanjiro discovers his potential with the Hinokami Kagura and obliterates the Hashira. He's also able to walk under the sun, but does not reveal this information. Tanjiro is now recognized as the Upper Moon 2, just below Kokushibo. Years later, Tanjiro's unique blood allows him to overcome Muzan's control, and he realizes what he's done all these years. He then plots to murder Muzan. After inviting him over to share some important information, he sneaks up on him and attacks him. Muzan gets shocked by this as he thought Tanjiro was under his control. Tanjiro keeps battling Muzan till sunrise. Seeing the sun, Muzan attempts to flee, but Tanjiro grabs him and somehow manages to keep him in open space. With this, Tanjiro has managed to kill the Demon King Muzan. However, he has no way to turn himself back into a human and decides to spend the rest of his life on some mountain all alone. I guess it's time we talk about the third and last scenario. This scenario will be way longer than the rest, and quite different as well. It was a cold day, so Tanjiro's mother told him not to go to the village to sell coal as there was heavy snow in the forest. So Tanjiro stays home for that day. While sitting in with his siblings, they hear a knock at the door. One of the Tanjiro siblings goes up to the door, and as soon as he opens the door, he gets his body cut in half, which shocks everyone, and they start screaming. Muzan enters their house and begins slaughtering everyone. He turns Nezuko into a demon, and as he approaches Tanjiro to kill him, he notices his earring. This makes him insanely furious, and he decides to take revenge. Instead of killing him, Muzan turns him into a demon. After some time, Tanjiro and Nezuko wake up. After seeing that everyone else was slaughtered, they rushed to the nearby village to get help, not realizing that they'd been turned into demons as their memories are a bit hazy. As they're rushing through the piles of snow, Gyu arrives and notices them running towards a human village. Gyu, thinking that they might be going toward a human village to kill the humans, quickly attacks them and slaughters Nezuko, while Tanjiro is heavily injured but barely manages to escape. Tanjiro vows to get revenge one day. He quickly wears a robe and enters a small town. Even though he's thirsty for blood, he's hesitant to kill a human. A few days later, Tanjiro's thirst for blood increases until he's unable to control it. At night, when no one's looking, he starts looking for his prey and sees a couple walking by. Tanjiro is still hesitant to kill anyone, but he has no choice, so he attacks the couple, killing both of them, and then takes them back to a small hut in the nearby mountains and devours them. As soon as he gets a taste for human blood, he gets addicted to it, killing more and more humans day by day. Rumors about a bloodthirsty demon started to spread around the small town, and so the Demon Slayer Corps was called to deal with this demon. Tanjiro, while looking for his next prey, hears about these rumors and doesn't come out of his hut for a few days because he's scared that he might die. After a few days, Tanjiro finally comes out of his hut to pray, thinking that the Demon Slayers might be gone, but he was wrong. As he's searching for his new prey, a demon slayer notices him and quickly calls for backup. They chase after him, but Tanjiro manages to barely escape the demon slayers. He attempts to get back to his hut, only to witness that his hut's on fire. This hut was very precious to Tanjiro, as it contained the necklace that he'd received from his mother and several other small things he'd gotten from his family. Tanjiro gets insanely furious after seeing this and realizes that demon slayers must have done this. Filled with rage, Tanjiro heads back to the small town and slaughters every single human there is and turns the small town into his domain. Tanjiro also turns a few humans into demons by giving his blood, kinda like how Rui did in the anime. A few days pass, and one of the demons rushes to Tanjiro to inform him about a demon slayer. However, before he can say anything, the demon slayer obliterates him. Seeing this, Tanjiro approaches the demon slayer, thinking that this demon slayer is probably weaker than the previous ones. He arrogantly attacks him, but the demon slayer cuts him in half. Tanjiro realizes that this demon slayer's a little different from the rest, and it sure is. He was a Hashira. Tanjiro makes a run for it, but he's unable to escape the Hashira and finds himself heavily injured, laying on the ground till he sees the Hashira symbol on the Hashira's clothing and gets flashbacks of how Nezuko was slain. At that exact moment, Tanjiro remembers his father performing a dance and attempts to imitate it. He steals the Hashira's sword and absolutely obliterates them. Soon, Muzan hears about this and sends a lower moon to capture him, but Tanjiro is way too overpowered for them. Muzan, after hearing about this news, decides to give Tanjiro a visit. Tanjiro, after seeing Muzan, quickly attacks him to take revenge, but realizes that Muzan's on a whole different league. The battle begins. Muzan is shocked to see Tanjiro's insane strength. He realizes that he's probably on par with Akaza and decides to play with him. The battle continues till sunrise, and Muzan hides in a forest. Tanjiro, on the other hand, gets stuck, but much to Muzan's surprise, the sun rays are not affecting him. He realizes that Tanjiro is immune to the sun. He decides to leave him for the time being. A few days later, Muzan attacks Tanjiro once again. Even though Tanjiro is strong, without Muzan's blood or proper training, he can't beat Muzan. Muzan defeats him and takes over his body. With Muzan being able to walk in the sun, he ambushes the Demon Slayer Corps alongside Upper Moon demons and takes over the entire world. What if Tanjiro had received enough training to master Hinokami Kagura? Would he be strong enough to kill Muzan then? Well, that's a question for another video.